All right. Hello, everybody. Friendly Red here. Back already with another installment of Red's Ramblings. The Nintendo Switch 2 Direct finally aired today, and I wanted to take some time to ramble on about some of the more prominent announcements and highlights that really stuck out to me, while also touching on some information that wasn't shared during the show. So with the setup complete, let's get into my ramblings on the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Alright, so the Nintendo Switch 2. Finally, we got a proper deep dive into the system and some of the surrounding information and games and whatnot that are going to be launching near it or shortly after. So I guess, yes, the console itself will be launching on June 5th worldwide. It's a Thursday. It's going to be $450, and there will also be a special edition launch bundle that includes a digital copy of Mario Kart World, the new Mario Kart game, also launching with the system for $500. So only $50 more, not too bad a deal. I'm sure most people who are going to be buying a Switch 2 at launch, we're already going to be getting Mario Kart anyway, so that's a good deal right there, no doubt. Especially considering pricing for games, which I'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, so that's just like the quick and dirty launch details. Good stuff. About 2 months away. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I guess before we get into specific game discussions, there's also probably the hardware itself. Some details about that. About an 8-inch display LCD, so not an OLED screen, unfortunately. Maybe they'll offer an OLED one later down the line like they did with the original Switch, but LCD only. Thickness of the system itself is actually the same as the normal Switch. That's pretty cool. The kickstand is much improved, similar to what we saw on like the OLED model, which is nice. That's a really nice kickstand. Joy-Con 2, the bigger shoulder buttons for if you're holding them horizontally. They've got, of course, the magnetic connection to the system itself. 2 USB-C ports, one on the top and the bottom, which is nice for being able to charge it during tabletop mode and for accessories like the camera that's going to be releasing. Also, the screen itself, 120 hertz 1080p, so that's pretty sweet. I was not exactly expecting to get a higher resolution, and certainly not just a high refresh rate display as well, but I will absolutely take it because as a PC gamer primarily, those high refresh rates are really nice. So yeah, for any games that are actually going to be able to utilize that, it's going to be very cool. So that is great. I like that a lot. Overall, I mean, it's a slightly larger, but otherwise, you know, very similar looking and I guess feeling Switch in terms of its, I guess, overall footprint. So, you know, it'll be familiar to anybody who already owns a Switch. I think especially a Switch OLED, because that one was already a little bit bigger than the normal Switch. So yeah, if you already have an OLED, going from that to a Switch 2, it's not going to be, I don't think, too crazy a difference. So, oh, and then also the screen supports HDR as well, which is great. And then the dock as well, that's another big thing. It's got a fan in the dock to help keep the system cool. When it is docked, it can go up to 4K output, which I also believe they mentioned, or at least on like a footnote in one of the, or some of the trailer footage, it mentioned that 4K output caps out at 60 FPS. I don't think we're going to probably be able to see any like 4K 120 games, unfortunately, but I mean, hey, still 4K 60 is great. A lot of TVs out there are 4K, so the Switch 2 finally being able to output at a very common TV resolution is really nice. So I think that's all the major hardware specs stuff to go over. So I guess before we get into games, the only other thing is the game chat thing. So on the right Joy-Con, there is a C button now, which basically can open up a menu in like a system that's very similar to the Discord from what it looks like. It's basically like a Switch version of Discord, so you can chat with friends while you're playing games. You can do like screen share and like video. So, you know, I guess that's cool for people who don't have a good setup already for like their Switch, you know, to be able to like also be able to use Discord already to talk or stream games. It's also good for people who have friends. So yeah, that's nice of Nintendo to offer it. But yeah, I don't know. I already have a pretty good setup with my desk and my PC. So I'm not really going to get too much out of the game chat thing, but it certainly is useful for sure for people who don't have that type of setup readily accessible. So kind of cool, but not really something I'm going to get a lot out of on the Switch 2, so don't want to spend too long on it. Okay, so games. I think we'll focus on the first party stuff first and foremost. Of course, Mario Kart World, launch title for the system. New Mario Kart looks great. I'm not like the biggest Mario Kart fanatic out there, but I certainly do like the games. The series is really fun, and this new game does look really cool. I like the expanded scope of it. You do have the classic like Grand Prix gameplay in there, but you also kind of have the open world kind of racing game. Even in the Grand Prix, you kind of see that sneak in with you still have to like drive between the courses even after the race is done. Because a big part about this game is that, you know, you can like drive anywhere. There's like the free roam, the free drive mode, which is really cool, where you just get to drive around the world itself and explore on your kart or your bike, which looks really cool. So I think Mario Kart World will be a very substantial launch title. Certainly, it does seem like a game that's going to have a lot of replay value, just a lot of things to do. You got the standard Grand Prix, you've got the other different racing modes, you got the free racing, which you can do with friends as well. So lots of content in there for sure. I think it'll keep Switch 2 early adopters busy for a while, which is good because the next major first party game isn't until about a month after the launch, which is the Donkey Kong Bonanza, a new 3D Donkey Kong platforming game. First new Donkey Kong game in like, I think over a decade, because I think the last wholly new Donkey Kong game was Tropical Freeze, which was in 2014. And then last, and I guess only 3D Donkey Kong game was Donkey Kong 64. So yeah, it's been a while since we've had a 3D Donkey Kong game and Donkey Kong game in general. I've never been like super into like Donkey Kong Country or just like the DK franchise in general, but the new game here does look very, very good, very fun, a very high quality 3D platformer. While I'm sure a lot of people were expecting and probably hoping for 3D Mario, you know, I think it's cool that another Nintendo character, Nintendo franchise kind of gets a little bit of time in the spotlight, and I mean, I have no doubts that it'll be amazing. It's a 3D platformer. Nintendo kind of knows what they're doing with those platformers in general. So yeah, that is gonna be out about a month after the console comes out, so that'll be another big first party title for sure. And then we have a couple of other games that are a bit farther out. We got the announcement of Kirby Air Riders, finally a new Kirby Air Ride game. I really liked the original Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube, and it'll be really cool to have a new one finally. It's of course being developed, or I should say directed, by Masahiro Sakurai, so they even had like a whole part of the trailer about that, and so that's really cool. Glad to see he's back. Kirby Air Ride was amazing. I'm sure this new one will be great. Although it is kind of funny that we're basically getting like two Nintendo racing games within the same year, with Mario Kart and then Kirby Air Ride. Kind of reminds me of I think it was kind of similar on the N64 within the same year. I think Mario Kart 64 and then the Diddy Kong Racing released like in the same year, so that's kind of funny. We're having a little bit of a repeat of that here with the Switch 2. I'm sure, you know, there's going to be a lot different between them, and they should both be very, very high quality, very fun racing games, so that's going to be really cool. We also have a new Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, basically taking what they did with Age of Calamity. In Age of Calamity, you played through like the lead up to what would have happened in Breath of the Wild, and now we're seeing that with Age of Imprisonment, where you get to play through the imprisoning war that was detailed within the story of Tears of the Kingdom, which is really cool. I do hope that this one sticks a bit more to actual canon, as Age of Calamity did kind of do its own thing. It was an alternate universe take on the events leading up to Breath of the Wild. It was still cool. It was still a quality game, and I do really like the Nintendo Warriors games, so I'm sure this one will be good. We'll just have to wait and see, though. I was really hoping for Xenoblade Warriors, personally. I still really want that, but I suppose I will have to wait a bit longer. And then, of course, the really big one, which is, I think, still technically first party. I don't know if we know if like Nintendo is publishing it, they're funding it, not exactly sure, but the Duskbloods, which is developed by From Software, Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game. I mean, I, like many others, was watching the trailer and thought, is this Bloodborne 2? Because it really gave off heavy Bloodborne vibes, and it is not, but it does seem to be taking some aspects of Bloodborne and of course some of the other From Software titles before it, but doing its own thing. It does seem like, interestingly, it wasn't really like a highlight exactly. It was, you know, it was more of just kind of like a artisanal piece of a trailer, I suppose, but it does seem like, according to some of the details online about the game, is that it's going to be more of a multiplayer heavy game which is I'm a little bit hesitant about, because I'm not really playing From Software's games for like the PvP, which it does seem like is a big part of this. So I want to see more. I want to, you know, learn more. And I think Nintendo said they're going to be publishing like an interview or something with Hidetaka Miyazaki, the game's director. So hopefully we'll be able to know some more soon. But I mean, it's coming out next year, so we've got some time anyways. But either way, a From Software Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive game is pretty crazy, regardless of what it is. And I love From Software and their work, so still very interested in it. Okay, so those are all of the big, I would say, I guess, brand new, you know, first-party Nintendo Switch 2 stuff that they showed. I guess real quick, next I'll go over some of the Switch 2 editions that they kind of highlighted. So these are going to be basically like Nintendo Switch software that will also see a specific Nintendo Switch 2 release, which will feature enhancements and in some cases new content. So like this first one here, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it does feature resolution and frame rate enhancements, but it will also feature new content, a new story, which is really cool to see. And then there was also the Zelda Switch titles, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it's cool. I like that these are getting enhanced resolution and performance, but I mean, it's not like super duper exciting, especially considering you have to pay for the upgrade or just buy it outright if you don't already own the games, which, yeah, I don't know. I'm used to getting the upgrades for games like on PlayStation 5 for just free as patches or with like $10 upgrades. I don't think it's been confirmed or detailed anywhere exactly how much the upgrades for these games are going to be if you already own the Switch version. But yeah, hopefully not too much. Yeah, because although actually, interestingly, if you have a subscription to Nintendo Switch Online, you do get the upgrades for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom included with that. So that's nice. You don't have to pay for those if you have the games already and have a active membership. The really big ones for me here for the Switch 2 editions are the games that aren't out yet that are going to be getting it. So Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, those were detailed. Not a ton of concrete details for Pokemon. It was basically just, hey, the game's going to look better and run better, which, I mean, I'll take it. And then Metroid Prime 4 was really exciting because they actually did detail the specifications for the modes for it on Switch 2. So it's going to have a 4K 60 mode, basically like a quality mode, and then a performance mode that's going to be 1080p 120, which is awesome. I love both of those. Those are both going to be super fun to play it with and test. And then it's also going to have the mouse support that the Joy-Con 2 have. So that is really cool. I'm definitely going to be playing Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2 and probably swapping between both of those if I'm playing on my TV, my big OLED 4K 60 there. And then maybe on my my desk setup here, do the 120 with the mouse. That would work, I think, pretty well. So yeah, that's going to be great. I'm really, really excited for those. Yeah, I think those are going to kind of be the highlight for the Switch 2 editions, at least for what they've announced so far. I guess before we go into third-party stuff, I should probably touch on the GameCube Nintendo Switch Online. So yes, they are finally adding GameCube software to Nintendo Switch Online, but it is only on Nintendo Switch 2, and you do have to have the expansion pack version. So I mean, hey, it's still really cool. I'm really glad that they're finally going to be re-releasing GameCube games, because there are some really, really good GameCube games that are stuck on that platform, and they're really expensive if you want to try and get them in a official capacity. So it's great to see stuff like F-Zero GX, Wind Waker, and Soul Calibur 2. Those were, I think, the only three that they detailed that are going to be available at launch with the system, but they did show a little bit of showcase of other games coming. Pokemon Coliseum GameCube games are going to be on there. Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion. They definitely can pull from some very, very good games on the GameCube, and I really hope to see stuff like the Star Fox games that are on GameCube would be really cool to see. I don't know, Melee would be kind of fun to see. So I don't know, we'll have to wait and see what they decide to re-release and how frequently they do it. But either way, it's great to see GameCube on here, and I will certainly be interested in testing it out. Oh, and they're also releasing a GameCube wireless controller to go along with it, which is really cool. I've unfortunately never really been able to get any of the Nintendo Switch Online console offering controllers. They're usually always like scalped and just bought out immediately whenever they go live on their website. Really hope I can get that GameCube one, but I'm not holding my breath, really. So third-party games, there was a lot shown. Personally, I'm not really using the Switch or Switch 2 for third-party games just because I have like a PC or, you know, other more powerful platforms for it. But with the Switch 2's increased performance and capabilities, certainly third-party games on it are going to be much more enticing than they were on the original. And there were at least a few things here that I like to see and will probably play on the Switch 2. Deltarune, chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, that was highlighted. Chapters 1 and 2 have been out for a little bit now. 3 and 4 have been in the works and will be releasing, I believe, on launch day. So that's great. Probably going to buy it on the Switch too, and probably play chapters 3 and 4 on there, maybe replay 1 and 2 beforehand since it's been a bit. Really cool to see. And then also another one that I like to see here was the HD remaster they're doing of Bravely Default, which I never actually played the original or Bravely Second, but I did play Bravely Default 2 when that launched on the Nintendo Switch, and I really liked that game. So I'm looking forward to playing the one that started it all, and it looks like a pretty decent little HD remaster here. Nothing super crazy, but it looks good. I mean, I think it's still a charming looking game in HD. It cleaned up nicely, so that's also, I believe, going to be available at launch, so that's nice. Nice little RPG to chip away at as soon as the system comes out. And of course, we also saw a very, very brief snippet of Silk Song with a vague 2025 release date on Switch 2. We'll see if that happens. I certainly hope so. If Team Cherry decided to let this, you know, be in here and include it, I certainly hope that means that they're confident that they can get the game out sometime this year. Here's hoping. All right, so before we wrap it up here, I do want to kind of go over some concerns about pricing, specifically for games. So nothing has been, from what I can tell, officially published from Nintendo themselves. I've been looking at their Switch 2 website and just any other postings. I haven't really been able to see any specific pricing for a lot of things, actually, so like game upgrades and such, but there have been some things that have popped up. So the main thing I've seen, there was this retailer listing that's popped up that basically has separate pricings for the digital versions of Switch 2 games and the physical versions. And the physical versions are more expensive. Again, there doesn't seem to be any official confirmation on any of the official Nintendo Switch 2 web pages I've looked at, but either way, the fact that this is even a possibility, I don't like. I don't really understand why there would, one, be a difference in pricing between a physical and a digital game, and why the physical one would be more expensive than what we're used to. And I mean, already we're seeing with some of the games that we know about, Mario Kart World is going to be $79.99 in North America, United States at least, and then Donkey Kong is going to be $69.99. So we've already seen Nintendo go experiment a little bit with like the $70 price with Tears of the Kingdom. I think most of us probably expected the $70 game, like new AAA release standard to be present here on Switch 2, but it seems weird that now we have to potentially worry about $80 games or even more, depending on your region and potentially depending on if you want to get it digitally or physically. All I can see officially is they did list some pricings on one of their postings about the Switch 2, which does state that Mario Kart World is $79.99 and Donkey Kong Bonanza is $69.99, along with some of the other accessories and things that will be available for the Switch 2. That doesn't mention anything about different pricing for physical or digital. Hopefully Nintendo clarifies this sooner rather than later, because as someone who likes to buy physical copies, especially for console games, I mean, basically it's the only thing you can buy physical copies for it. Yeah, it would really sting if, for whatever reason, physical copies just get like jumped up in price for like seemingly no reason. So I really hope that they clarify that, as man, $80 or more potentially for a physical copy of a game. I really hope that's not the case, because that means it's going to be really hard to justify to buy physical, which would suck because I really like buying physical. Speaking of physical games, though, there was something else that it wasn't in the presentation, but they do have a separate web page for it, and that is in regards to physical games on Switch 2. So it seems like some physical games will not ship entirely on a cartridge. So even if you get a physical copy of a game, they've shown a little mock-up here, some physical Switch 2 games will just actually require a download, and basically the physical card that's in the case just allows you to, have access to that download for the game. Now, I personally think this is going to mainly be for specific third-party software that may be too big to fit on standard Switch 2 cartridges. I don't think they've specified what the sizes are for Switch 2 cartridges. I imagine they're probably going to be similar to Switch 1. And I think anything first party from Nintendo, as it's been on the original Switch, will fully be on the game card. I would expect that. I think this will be mainly for third party stuff, really big third party games, maybe like the Elden Ring Switch 2 edition, and maybe some of the bigger like sports games, or hell, maybe future Call of Duty games for sure, because those aren't going to fit on a cartridge. But either way, yeah, I don't really like this. I really hope this is just for third party stuff, and that first party stuff will remain completely on the game card, and that it also will not be more expensive physically, as I mentioned. We shall see. For now, that's, I think, everything I want to go over and say regarding the Switch 2 Direct. I think I've gone on for long enough, certainly longer than I was probably expecting. But yeah, overall, I am certainly excited. I'm very much looking forward to the Switch 2. There's certainly going to be some things that I would like some clarification on before release, mainly the whole physical game situation, pricing and whatnot. Because that is certainly concerning. As for the console itself, though, I think it's a fair price. It's only like, what, $150 more than a normal Switch, $100 more than an OLED. I think that's a pretty reasonable price for the system itself, for what you're getting. Very much looking forward to hopefully getting my hands on it at launch and playing around with it and testing games out and making some content for it. Yeah, I think that'll do it for rambling version of me, so I will leave it now to script version of me. But with all that being said, I think that'll do it for this video. If you made it to the end, I thank you for watching. Your continued viewership and support is greatly appreciated. Hope I was able to entertain, inform, and perhaps offer up some new perspectives and ideas about the Switch 2 that you may not have thought about. I'm very much looking forward to the launch, and it should be lots of fun to do some coverage on it once it releases. And last, but certainly not least, as always, I'll see you next time.